of course, we cannot go any further uh, in these lessons without speaking of what's going on there in Syria prophetically, and how that geopolitically will affect us in our present day life. So, we're going into a short lesson on the war in Syria. All right. Now, for those of you, I know a lot of you who listen to our lessons have your ears to the ground and your eyes wide open concerning the prophecies, looking at Iran as the key pivotal country that must come into the war before total chaos and destruction hits the Western world. What does Syria have to do with this? Why is Syria being attacked right now? And what does that have to do with the coming of Christ? Now, if we're living in the Western world, or a lot of us were born in the Western world, we are detached from the old world and don't know the spiritual significance of these areas in the Middle East concerning prophecy. So it's foreign to us. We're taught just to believe in Christ, or whatever they teach us, the pagan Christ in the Western world, and you go to church every Sunday and you'll be all right. That stuff really don't matter. That's between the Jews and the Arabs and all that over there. It's really not important. Well, it is important. That's number one, because unless you understand what's going on over there, you don't understand the prophecies concerning the coming of our Lord and Savior. Second, it is a big deal in the Middle East because it have nothing to do with it have really little to do with what they're telling you in the Christian church, that it's just a Middle Eastern spat between Israelites or Israelis and Jewish people and Arabs. No, it can't be, because you're the Israelites. You're the Israelites. So if you look at the prophecies of Israel, you're not supposed to be looking at the Gentile occupation of Israel. Every scripture concerning the Israelites are about the slaves who went into captivity and are living under the foot and oppression of the Western world. And that leads us to Syria. What if you found out that the people, the Western world, I'm talking about Rome, who call themselves Jewish today, but we know in fact they're Romans, Edom, and they're controlling the legislation and power of the White House. Suppose you found out that they're actually under Satan, financing Al-Qaeda over in Syria to destroy the remnant of Israel that are in Syria. That means our people, not only are you being oppressed in America and Great Britain or any other island or any other area you were taken to for a time just to serve your oppression, that these countries they're going into, they know through bloodline what people to attack. Now, there's going to be a remnant in Syria whom the Most High will save through this, which will actually go into the wilderness. We're going to go there soon. All right, but also this going to lead to the destruction of the people who are attacking Syria. So Syria will fall, regardless of this political football they're putting out there between Congress and the Senate in the United States and Barack Obama. Syria will fall, but the people who are behind the fall of Syria will fall too. Now, Before I go into the scriptures on this, as far as going into Syria itself, I need to first do a recap on a few things we've said for a long time. That eventually, that the European Union or the European world, which are really the head of this thing that's going on here, that the EU will eventually turn on America and have America be the blame of everything wrong. Said that long ago, and there's prophecies concerning it. I'm going to read it. Great Britain has backed America in every war up until this one. Now, Great Britain is where the Queen is. Okay? Which I would call the Queen of Babylon myself. But she's a Horite, she's an Edomite, she's a German. That's in league with the Pope. That's in league with the spiritual factions that are controlling the earth. And they will have the power in the earth after America falls. Great Britain have backed America, quote unquote, on the surface with every war, even though American wars are not American wars at all. It's not too many people in America who live in America that actually desire these wars. These wars are Zionist wars fought and won through the blood of the poor in America. And even the poor people fighting in the military are against the war. Every war up until now have been backed by Great Britain. But they've washed their hands of Syria. Why? You can only use the same platform and propaganda so many times before everyone sees what it is. You say Assad used weapons of mass destruction on his own people. Where did we hear this before? Did we hear this when they claimed that, Saddam Hussein is a bad man who used chemical weapons on his own people? A drum up to war against Iraq to destabilize Iraq, and then come to find out there was no chemical weapons at all? Come to find out the so-called rebels of Syria don't even belong to Syria. They're Saudis. They're part of the Mujahideen, which was created through Brzezinski and the New World Order to move people from Saudi Arabia, rebels, from one country to the next to destabilize it. And when the cameras are on, they will just raise the flag of the country they're destabilizing to make the Western world believe that it's their own people fighting against them. When it's not. These are paid mercenaries that are paid from one country to the next to destabilize it. The same so-called rebels, they're not rebels at all, they're mercenaries, that were in Libya, that toppled Libya, are now toppling Syria. They are not from Syria. So there's no civil war. Never was. But they're banking on America's ignorance and the people of America and the Western world ignorance. They're banking on your ignorance to sell these stories. How many of you still believe that Assad used chemical weapons on his own people? None of you, because it didn't happen. Now here's the key part that's very weird. The areas in which they're now attacking or have been attacking, and I know it's not important to some of our people, is an area called Malala, right? And that's nothing to you. But come to find out, Malala is a place in Damascus or Syria, which is one of the only 3 places in the earth in which the language that Christ spoke is still being spoken in the earth today. So they're not just attacking people. These are strategic attacks against the elect who are scattered in Syria. See? But before I go there, let's go to the fact that the scriptures tell us that the EU will eventually go against the whore. Let's go to Revelations, the 17th chapter.
Revelations chapter 17, verse 13.
Let's start at the first verse. We're going to go through it quick. I'm not going to just, because there's a lot we need to break down. So I'm going to hit that quick, okay? All right, go ahead.
Verse 1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
I'll show you the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters,
with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Go ahead.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast.
So this woman, this is the vision that John is seeing on the Isle of Patmos, where this woman is sitting on a scarlet-colored beast. Now we know scarlet is red. So this is a representation of who? Hold this and get the book of, not the book of Obadiah, Genesis the 25th chapter.
Genesis 25 and 25. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment, and they call his name Esau.
So they called his name who?
Esau.
Now go down to where you eat that red pottage. Read.
Verse 32.
Read.
And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die. What profit shall this birthright do to me?
Go ahead.
And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him. And he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up, and went his way. Thus despised his birthright.
Read where it says
29 to 30.
Read.
And Jacob saw pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage.
So Esau asked his brother Jacob to feed him with that same red pottage. Read.
For I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom.
His name was called Edom, which means red. So when you go to that scarlet-colored beast, John is seeing Edom. He's seeing Edomites here. To prove to you it's not just one man. Hold that and get Genesis 36 and 1 and 36 and 9.
Genesis 36 and 1.
Read.
Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom.
Go down to the 9th verse.
Verse 9. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites.
The father of the Edomites. So it just didn't start with so-called Esau or Edom. It didn't stop there, excuse me. He had children. All right. Eventually, through time, they converted themselves into Judaism to hide the fact that they are the people of Edom. So the Queen of England, those that are controlling the republic today. Sound familiar? Why? Because Rome had a republic, right? That's who they are. Edomites. So this scarlet-colored beast is what John is seeing here. Read.
Full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
It says name of blasphemy because they would set up an establishment against the laws of God. They would tell you once they've established their law that you should not follow God's law. You should not follow the Bible. And they would call everything good evil in their system. Blasphemy. They would make you pagans. They would say ignore the Passover, ignore the Sabbath, ignore everything that the Bible say and follow our paganism, follow our Satan pagan worships. See? And the head of their pagan satanic church is who? The Pope. Read.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
The 7 heads represents the 7 mountains which Rome sat on. And the 10 horns represent the countries that was an extension out of Rome. Read.
Verse 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness.
Full of abominations and filthiness. That's the lies that come from Rome. And the religion that comes from Rome. Making everyone drunk with the wine, her religion. And guess what? It's not just Catholicism. Okay? The Catholic Church created Islam. Islam is no different than the Catholic Church. It's just the Catholic Church for Arabs. That's it. And if you want to do the research, look at Persian mythology, in which they had one god for each day of the year. And each of those gods linked to a saint or an idol worship in the Roman Catholic Church today. Read.
And I saw the woman, Salakia, the end of verse 4, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Abominations of the earth. So you're going to look for this same church to bring truth. And I know you Christian church saying, well, I know the Catholic Church is wrong. I know you Baptists and Pentecostals are saying, I know the Catholic Church is wrong. But guess what? She's your mother. Okay? She's your mother. And the core credo of the Catholic Church is being taught throughout all the factions that came out of her. So yeah, that's why she's called the mother of harlots. You might not be the mother, but you're still a harlot. See? Because you haven't sat down and really examined your doctrine and where it came from, its origin. You're still worshiping on Sunday when the Most High say, remember the Sabbath. Who taught you that? Your mommy. That's who taught you that. You're still celebrating Christmas. You're still celebrating Easter. You're still claiming that the Bible and the laws are done away with. See that? You're still doing it. And then wonder why the church is going to hell in the handbasket. Why? If you tell people that the law is done away with, then every lawless creature or unrepentant sinner will become a part of what you're dealing with, so because they can do it freely without any burden on conscience. And then eventually you'll have a homosexual come in and say, well, listen, you can't tell us that we can't do it. We can run this church now because you told us the law was done away with. And we up in here and we see all you breaking the laws written up in the Bible. What can you tell us? And see, and that's what mommy wanted. That's what the whore wanted. Because why? The whore, which is the Roman Catholic Church, is filled with pedophilia, filled with homosexuality, filled with incest. So that's why they wanted to teach you. And their aim was to eventually attack and destroy the so-called minority churches, which had some similitude of morality at one point. I'm reading right now on your mommy, the Roman Catholic Church. Here's an article. Pope Francis, the new Pope, phones gay Catholic to reassure him about sexuality. He phones a gay Catholic priest and to reassure him that it's okay dealing with other men and raping little boys. It's all fine. And why is he reassuring him now? Because the world have accepted the spirit of sodomy, the spirit of evil. And it began with the church claiming you don't have to follow any laws. The Bible, the Old Testament is done away with, and those laws mean nothing no more. Now the mommy is telling you the truth. And they can come out in public now. Why? Because now homosexuals have overran all the churches. They're on your board. They're on your board, okay? They're your secretaries, okay? They're your everything. They're your choir leaders. They're your Sunday school teachers now. See? They're your musicians. They're your singers now. Okay? They are your faith movement leaders. They're getting everybody up, singing up in the church now. So they have overran it. So now the mommy is coming straight out and saying, well, this is what we've always been. Didn't you know? Didn't you tell people the law was done away with? Yeah. So don't try to detach yourself from the Catholic Church. If you are Baptist, Pentecostal, no matter what you are a part of your mommy. Unless you denounce it all and come back to the truth, you're living under the whore. Finish reading.
Verse 6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints.
And that's how you know who the woman is. The woman killed the saints. Who was responsible for the martyrdom of the Israelites? The Romans. See? It's identifying who are the murderers, the children of Satan. The Roman Catholic Church didn't use the Jesuits' ships and power and the merchants' money to go over the earth to give you philanthropy and heal diseases and help you. No. They came with swords drawn to kill and disease the people and enslave the earth. They're the killers of the saints. So if you want to know who the saints are, look at the countries that have been destroyed by the Roman Catholic Church. And 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, you're looking at the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Read.
And the angel said unto me, verse 6, the rest of verse 6, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua, and when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman.
Here's the mystery of this woman.
And of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns.
Go ahead.
The beast which thou sawest.
So when it says carried her, to show you that she's not going to stay stationary. So for those who claim it's just the Roman Catholic Church or just Rome or Italy, don't have no geopolitical or spiritual understanding of what this is speaking of. This beast don't stand still. This whore is not just starting with the Roman Catholic Church. She set up stations all over the earth, and her key station is the daughter of Babylon, America herself. I'm going to show you. Read.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not.
It says it was and is not.
And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit.
It says it was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Now we know who ascended out of the bottom, who will ascend out of the bottomless pit according to the scriptures. Hold on and get the book of Revelations. You're still there, right? Get Revelations 20, and let's see who is it speaking of.
Revelations chapter 20, verse 3. As a matter of fact, verse 2. And he laid hold on the angel, that old serpent, which is the devil.
The old serpent, the devil.
And Satan.
And
bound him 1,000 years.
So we know that when Christ returns, he will bound Satan 1,000 years.
And cast him into the bottomless pit.
And cast him into the bottomless pit. Read.
And set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled.
What happens after the 1,000 years, after Christ's 1,000-year reign?
And after that, he must be loosed a little season.
And after that, Satan will be loosed a little season. So that beast that will ascend out of the bottomless pit is actually speaking of Satan. It's not an antichrist or one man popping up. It's Satan, who is the God worshipped by the mother Roman Catholic Church. And deceptively, he's also being worshipped by all the harlots who came out of her. That's why Christ said, be not deceived. Many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many, showing you the highest deception in the recruitment for Satan will actually be within the church. Read.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not.
Was and is not.
And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. And
showing you, and read.
And go into perdition.
And go into perdition. Talking about the spirit of Satan. Read.
And they that dwell on the earth shall wander, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world.
So who is these who were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world? You're going to find out who. Read.
When they behold the beast that was.
When they behold the beast that was.
And is not.
And is not.
And yet is.
But yet is. Because also Satan is the power of an empire, because when you look at beast in the book of Daniel, it's an empire. So he's looking at a beast that was. That means it's related to something that was. And that's why America is dealing with Babylonian, ceremonies. Because it got those ceremonies from a beast that was. Okay? The Babylonians celebrated December 25th, Tammuz, in the celebration of Nimrod. Okay? It was Babylon that celebrated the goddess of star, Tammuz's mother, who had a child without a man in ancient Babylon. See? So this new beast will be like a beast that was and yet is. Why did it say yet is? Who was ruling during John's time? Rome. So Rome took on the power of that beast. But then it says it's not. Why? Because you can't read the word America nowhere in the Bible. It's a future beast. See? So John says it was and is. And the fact that he said it was during his time, that means the Roman Empire who exiled John to the Isle of Patmos was following the same rituals of ancient Babylon. Yet it's not. Why? Because it was a future prophecy of an empire that did not come during John's time. Listen clearly.
And they that dwell on the earth shall wander, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world.
What verse?
This is verse 8.
Go ahead.
When they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is.
And yet is. Go ahead.
And here's the mind which have wisdom.
Go ahead.
The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
Go ahead.
And there are 7 kings, 5 which are fallen, and 1 is.
Go ahead.
And the other is not yet come.
And the other is yet not come, so there's going to be another that will come. Read.
And when he cometh, he must continue a short space.
That means this empire, this last empire, will have the shortest rulership compared to all the rulerships before it. Read.
And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th.
Even he is the 8th.
And is of the 7.
And is from the 7.
And goeth into perdition.
And he will eventually go into perdition. And we know that that last empire is America, which was made out of 3 of the 10 horns. It was made out of Great Britain, France, and Spain. Read.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are kings.
They're kings.
Which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
So these 10 kings, or these 10 powers out of Rome, didn't receive their power yet. Why? Because that last beast, that last horn out of them, jumped out and received all glory. That means even though France, Spain, and Great Britain created America, and they're America's mother, because they're part of being part of Rome, Americans have gained more notoriety than all of them. So eventually what will happen? Read.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which receive no kingdom as yet.
Because why? America have taken their glory. Read.
But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
That means the last hour of rulership is what's allotted to them. To show you that the 10 horns will not get their power until the very end. So who's in their way? Who's in the EUA? America. See? They created America, but yet America gets all the glory. So eventually they're going to take the glory back by doing what? Allowing her to be destroyed. Read.
Verse 13. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
That means they will give their power and strength unto Satan.
These shall make war with the Lamb.
They are the ones, these are the Edomites that will fight against Christ. America will not be in existence when this happens. Read.
And the Lamb shall overcome them.
And Christ shall overcome them.
For he is Lord of lords and King of kings.
Read.
And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples, multitudes, and nations and tongues.
Go ahead.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore,
These shall hate the whore,
and shall make her desolate
and shall make her desolate,
and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire.
Now she's eaten, the flesh is being eaten through the economy that was set up through the Rothschilds, knowing that one day they would put a debt under America that she cannot pay. So it's tearing her down slowly. That's why it says Babylon the Great is fallen. It's fallen. And eventually, they're going to side with the enemies to destroy America. And that's what's going on right now. You see Great Britain? Great Britain is saying, we don't want nothing to do with Syria. And you notice this is right before Iran comes into the picture. So they're opening the door for Iran. We're dealing with the prophecies as we speak. Now, America is on their own, going into the last war on earth. See? Who is she with? We're going to tell you that in a moment as far as who Edom is standing with. Going back to Syria, let's go to the Apocrypha real quick.
Second Ezra chapter 16 verse 1.
Go ahead.
Woe be unto thee, Babylon,
Woe be unto thee, Babylon,
and Asia.
and Asia.
Woe be unto thee, Egypt, and Syria.
Now these are all the areas that were meticulously taken down politically. Babylon is well, ancient Babylon is Iraq. Then you got Egypt, where they're looking for regime change. And who?
Syria.
And Syria. But yet, they'll tell you, don't believe the scriptures, don't believe the Bible. And you know what? A matter of fact, they told the Christians in the Western world, don't even read the Apocrypha. And it's telling you in chronological order the countries that are in the war as we speak. Now, if you were to read these scriptures and see what's going on in the news, it would confirm what we've been saying the whole time. The Apocrypha and the Bible prophecies are true. See? Read.
Verse 2. Gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair. Bewail your children, and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand.
For your destruction is at hand. Read.
A sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away?
Now, some people might ask, well, why would a loving God bring all these plagues and sorrow and woes? Why? Some of you might say, well, this is just signs of the times, that things are getting bad. Just signs of the times, and, you know, we're going into the sign of the times. Y'all just keep it there without even reason within yourself. Why would the Most High want to send these plagues and this destruction in these wars? Why would he allow these things to happen? We're going to show you why. Hold that and get Psalms 83 and 1. We're going to show you why. And it always goes back to the same thing. And I know a lot of you don't like to go here, but we must go here because this is the tie that binds. This binds the whole thing. It ties the whole thing together. The Most High will not allow these things to happen without reason. So why would the Most High allow these things to happen? Why is Syria being attacked right now? Why did it happen? Why? Read Psalms 83. Read this.
Psalms 83 and 1. Keep not thou silence, O God.
So David prayed to the Most High and asked him not to keep his silence.
Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
Read.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
The enemies of the Most High are the pagans and the Satan worshippers in this earth. They're making a tumult. That means they're making an uprising, or they're speaking against someone. Read.
And they that hate thee have lifted up their head.
The nations that hate the Most High have lifted up their head. How do you know they hate the Most High? They don't follow the Bible. They hate the fact that there's laws in the earth, righteous laws. And they uphold their idolatry and sacrilege. See? So they hate the Most High because the Bible and the true God of the Hebrews, the true God of Christ, the true God has laws that upbraid their worships. And they don't like that because why? Their traditions, they feel, and their culture, they feel, is rich and should be acknowledged. So when they see Hebrews or Israelites follow the law, statutes, and commandments, that have them examine their own culture, and they'll know and understand that their culture compared to Israelites' culture is substandard. So they hate the Most High, and they hate to see our people following the laws. Right? So they'll do anything, because they're not sending out missionaries to convert their own people into Islam or Buddhist or whatever, because they're already Muslims and Buddhists. The missionaries are aimed towards you. You're the people who lost their identity. That's where the missionaries, that's where the conversions are aimed towards. See? Because they hate to see us uphold our God and tell them the truth about their satanic gods. See? Read.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
So they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. So they have done this crafty. They have set amongst themselves and say, look, how can we trick them into destroying themselves? And of course, they all came together and say, well, we must make them believe that their God don't exist. Matter of fact, we need to tell them the Bible is tampered with. We need to tell them, no, don't even go into their Bible. So that we can give them all these alternative pagan, demonic religions. And by so, the same God that we taught them don't believe will attack them and do harm to them. And by default, will become the slaves' gods. If we can control their religion, if we can control their belief, then they will uphold us as the chosen people. Now, I know a lot of you don't want to deal with this and acknowledge this, but it's the truth. The people that administer the God are reverenced by those who serve them. See? It's that simple. So don't tell me that race don't come into play here. If in order for me to acknowledge any level of Hindu teaching, I'm sitting here looking at an East Indian in front of me telling me how to be a Hindu. Don't tell me race don't matter. Okay? Telling me what the Hindus do and how the culture of that. It goes into Persia. So that makes them the authority if I'm in a class learning to be Hindu. If I'm sitting under an imam who's Arab and he's going into Islam, I must acknowledge him and his race as an authority because the religion began with his people. So don't tell me race doesn't matter. On and on and on and on. So that crafty counsel is them operating to separate us from our God spiritually. And that's why in America, one of the main laws they put in the Constitution, which they follow to the teeth, is freedom of religion. Why? Because other nations come into a country where the people are lost, where the people who are serving and built the country are lost. And now they are a prey. When the imam come in, he becomes an authority in the neighborhood. Why? Because the people are lost. So he can set up a mosque and convert you into Islam because you have been detached from your God. You have been detached from your laws, your culture. So don't tell me it doesn't matter. See? That's that tumult. They said what? Read it.
They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation.
That is their key objective. Let's cut these people off from being a nation. We can never have them know who they are. Because I can't resolve being a Muslim now that I know that my seed links to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I can't even perceive myself being a Muslim and following a new religion that just came around not too long ago, when I know that I have a rich history beyond the Arab world. That the same time that our people were teaching the Arab world, they were operating and worshiping one God for each day of the year. So they had to first tell us that it doesn't matter who we are. Just learn what the masters are teaching you now. Their key objective was to cut us off from being a nation. That what?
That the name of Israel,
That the true name of Israel, knowing who God's people really are. And that's why the Christian church is saying, well, everyone is spiritual Israelites now. So that no one will know who the true Israelites are. And then I'm like, why is it that they're spiritual Israelites when all the other ites in the Bible are not spiritual? Where's the spiritual Ishmaelites? Or the spiritual Edomites? Where are they? Why is it they had to pick one people of the Bible and make them spiritual? Read it again.
they have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation,
Let us cut them off from being a nation.
that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
We have to make sure when these people are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth and enslaved, that they even though they're spiritual, we can never tell them that their fathers are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they will totally reject the gods that we've given them. And if they don't respect our gods, you got it. They won't respect us. The only power we have over them, the only respect that we get from them, is to believe that the God we introduce into them is the true God. But what happens when they realize that we're pagans and worshiping fallen angels? That means they're going to take their prayers from us. They're going to take their blessings from us. And we can no longer be blessed through these people. See? And on the contrary, they will begin to pray against us and our gods. And that's what you're seeing in the earth right now. The Most High is shaking all the idols of the world because his people are awakening, praying against the satanic system and the religions who have destroyed them. See? That's what you are witnessing all over the earth. Why? Because the people that are in their meetings now, like Barack and McCain and Kerry, that's drumming up this war, don't even realize, because they're so satanically deceived, that the eventual war is going to lead to their destruction too. And I'm going to read it. So yeah, they will have their hand in destroying Damascus and Syria. But what happens to them afterwards? We're going to show you according to the scriptures. Finish reading.
For they have consulted, verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent.
They are all together with one consent. And it's going to point out who they are. Read.
They are confederate against thee.
And they are a confederate against God's chosen people. The people who went in the cargo slave ships. The people who are suffering all over the earth. In the last battleground, I'm going to tell you, you're going to hear more and more about the Western world and their politicians and the Christian leaders visiting Africa. That's the last battleground. And they're not there to give some good old vaccinations for the children, because the vaccinations are poison. It's deeper than that. It's going to be all-out war. 70 AD in Africa very soon. Because that's the last battleground. It's going to lead to the children of Israel running into the wilderness together. And at that time, those portals will be open and we will be protected by the Most High for a time in the wilderness. Okay? We fled into the wilderness, running from Roman persecution and slavery. Tell you that in Revelation, the 12th chapter, that the Romans chased us. We ran into Africa. But guess what, brothers and sisters? We weren't there to stay there. We were only supposed to be there for a certain number of jubilees before the oppression comes against us. And then we will begin to make our way back into our holy areas. That's what's going on as we speak. Read.
Verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom.
Now it's identifying those who are against God's people. The tabernacles of Edom.
And the Ishmaelites.
Now Edom is, you got it, the royal families of England. The Khazars who have converted into Judaism, who don't even acknowledge the Torah. They deal with the Babylonian Talmud, just like they worship Rosh Hashanah and make you believe it's have something to do with atonement, when it have everything to do with their following, check this out, and celebrating Adam and Eve's fall. That's what Rosh Hashanah is. They're celebrating the fall of Adam. And in celebration of Rosh Hashanah, they eat apples with honey on them as a representation of the forbidden fruit. Rosh Hashanah, it's all Talmud. Rosh Hashanah is not even in the Torah. But you have our people ignorantly believing that these people are following the Torah, and they are Babylonian through worship, and they're Edom through blood. Okay? Now, some people might ask, well, why is it that Edom, why would they be following a Babylonian worship? Shouldn't they have a worship of their own? Well, think about it. When Edom was rejected and went against our God, they took on the worships of the Canaanite gods. The Canaanite gods were the same gods that was worshipped before the flood. So when Edom was set up, they began to worship those same gods, calling them Zeus, Jupiter, Mercury, Aphrodite, on and on and on and on and on and on. And these were the same gods before that, prior to that was worshipped in ancient Babylon. See? And these are the gods that you are lighting candles to if you go into a Catholic church. Okay? Finish reading.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the Ishmaelites. Now, who are the Ishmaelites? You guessed it. The modern day Mujahideen. Okay? They're the Saudis. Now, what do Edom and Ishmael have in common? They both are brothers who were born first, who have a problem with their brother. Like Ishmael, which is the father of the Arabs, have a problem with Isaac, because Isaac was born afterwards and received the blessing. See? Ishmael is the father of what you would call the Muslim belief now. And that's why when they come into our neighborhoods and when they come to where we live, they impose their religion on us, because they believe that they should have been teaching us anyway, because they came first. And then they'll lie to our people and say, yeah, the Bible's tampered with. Why don't you take our Bible, which is only a plagiarism from yours, read the Quran, and acknowledge our new prophet. See? Because they are part of atonement. They have agreed. And that's what's going on right now. Who do you think they use in bringing it up to modern time? Who do you think they used on September 11th? All the so-called hijackers had a passport and immunity through the government in the United States. And guess what? They were all Saudis. But then America went to war with Iraq. Why? Because Ishmael is in it with Edom. Edom also has a problem, because he came out first and he lost his blessing and he lost his birthright. And he promised, when you read Genesis 26:27, that once his father died, he will destroy his brother. And his blessing was that once his brother falls, he will rule the earth as a hunter, and he would live through the sword. Now, who's living through war today? You got it, Edom. So they're together. That's why the Saudis' propaganda over in the Middle East is in league with the propaganda of the Western world. They're working together against Jacob. You don't know who you are, Jacob, but they do. Okay? Finish reading.
Of Moab,
Of Moab. Now, Moab is on the coast of Israel. When you see the modern day like Palestinians, I mean, the modern day Palestinians. Read.
and the Hagarenes,
And the Hagarenes,
of Gebal and Ammon,
Gabal and Ammon, also Middle Easterns bordering our homeland Israel. Read.
and Amalek,
And Amalek. Now, just turn it on. Give me that. And who?
and Amalek,
And Amalek. Amalek is the chief leader over the Edomites. The modern day Amaleks would be jewelry. Those that are worshiping in jewelry today, like your Cohens, your Jewish priests, they are Amalek. Read.
Gebal, and
Gabal
Ammon,
and Ammon
and Amalek,
and Amalek.
the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre.
Go ahead.
Asher also is joined with them.
Go ahead.
They have holpen the children of Lot.
And they have helped the children of Lot.
Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth.
Now, did you read Hamath yet? Which says Hamath?
This was not in this.
One moment here. We need to get the one on Hamath too. All right? Finish reading. Finish reading what you have there.
Verse 10. Which perished at Endor, they became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb, like Zeeb, yea, all the princes of Zebah, as Zalmunna, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of the Most High in possession.
They said what?
Let us take to ourselves the houses of the Most High in possession.
Let us take to ourselves the houses of the Most High in possession. So all the nations have come together to do what? To take the Most High's people down and possess them. Why? Because God's people lost their heritage. Now that our people have been enslaved, we become a prey to the Gentile nations and their gods. So the Most High must use a pretext in which war is created that will tear down each nation at a time. And eventually he will destroy them. This is the only way Israel can be set free. Now, let's go to Isaiah 7 and 7. Before you go there, let's go back to the Apocrypha real quick as far as what we were reading of Syria.
Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 6. May any man drive away an hungry lion in the wood?
Go ahead.
Or may anyone quench the fire in stubble when it hath began to burn? May one turn again the arrow that is shot of a strong archer?
That means, can someone stop these wars from happening? The answer is no. Read.
The mighty Lord sendeth the plagues, and who is he that can drive them away? A fire shall go forth from his wrath, and who is he that may quench it? He shall cast lightnings, and who shall not fear? He shall thunder, and who shall not be afraid? The Lord shall threaten, and who shall not be utterly beaten to powder?
It says the Most High shall threaten, and who shall not utterly be beat to powder? Showing you the future of these nations that have poisoned and destroyed God's people throughout the four corners of the earth. Read.
At his presence,
The earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof. The sea ariseth up with waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also, before the Lord, and before the glory of his power. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss, when they begin to be shot in the ends of the world. Behold,
To show you at the end of these wars is what? Nuclear destruction. And guess what? They're not using them right now, but when one is used, it's going to be like a world of fireworks. It only take one to use them, and then it's going to be all over the earth. These missiles going back and forth. This is Bible prophecy. Read.
behold, the plagues are sent, and shall not return again,
The plagues are sent and shall not return again. Read.
until they come upon the earth.
Until they come upon the earth. Read.
The fire is kindled, and shall not be put out, till it consume the foundation of the earth. Like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer, returneth not backward. Even so the plagues that shall be sent upon earth shall not return again. Woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days?
Who will deliver us in those days? Read.
The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, and the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear.
Now, some people may look at this and say, man, this is doom and gloom. What can we do? Should we panic? The answer is absolutely not. There's nothing to panic for. There's no other place we can go. Okay? So, panicking is the last thing we need to do. We're still within this earth. The bombs are going to be shot all over the earth. Hold it and get Jeremiah 30, and we're going to go back there real quick. I'm saying this because once we start showing these things, and everyone look at the news and see what's going on in the earth and foresee the prophecies happen, sometimes people panic. Oh, I got to go here, I got to go there. No, it's something you have to do where you are. To be led by the Spirit when it comes to whether or not you're going to go from one place to the next. Read Isaiah 30 and let people know what time this is.
Jeremiah 30,
Jeremiah 30, yeah.
verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it.
None is like it.
It is even the time of Jacob's trouble.
Whose trouble it is?
Jacob's trouble.
So in the Christian church, they talk about tribulation and don't even tell you the truth concerning whose tribulation it is. It's Jacob's trouble. And it's hard for them to they won't even teach this because they don't tell you who Jacob is. We're at the end of our troubles. Our tribulation started way back in Israel. And it really began against us in the southern kingdom. Once the Romans came and took us down and we fled into Africa. And eventually they found us at the Golden City in Timbuktu. And them and the Arabs back then led a campaign to eventually enslave us by destroying us and pitting us against each other, in which we needed their weaponry to sustain. And in order to get their weaponry, we had to give up the poor and others of ourselves, or the low of ourselves, into slavery, into the hands of our enemies on some accounts. On other accounts, they came to our shores and seen us playing and took us in certain instances. You understand? And eventually, we went over the waters. And over those waters, we lost everything. We lost our identity, our understanding, our purpose. And we took on pagan gods. And it came to a point where even today, we believe that we are Americans. We've been detached. And not understanding that all the troubles in the earth, everything the nations are doing, is to utterly eradicate us. Why? Because they feel if we fall by default, these other people will eventually become God's people and rule and have the kingdom. And that's the deception that's being taught under the Luciferian Bible. And that's why those under the New World Order subscribe to that philosophy to destroy us. And that's why the Bible calls it what? Jacob's trouble. See? Read.
but he shall be saved out of it.
But Jacob shall be saved out of it. So there's no need to panic. If we follow the law, statutes, and commandments, if we do what's right by the Most High, the Holy Spirit will guide us. So there's no need to panic. Okay? Let's go back to what you was reading.
2nd Ezra chapter 16,
Go ahead.
verse 18. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings.
The beginning of sorrows and great mournings.
The beginning of famine and great death.
Go ahead.
The beginning of wars and powers shall stand in fear. And the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come?
What shall we do when they come? Read.
Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish, are sent as scourges for amendment.
So it's sent as scourges for amendment. So the Most High is sending these destructions for amendment. He's allowing these to happen so that now those that belong to the Most High will cleave to Him and be protected by Him. And those that oppose Him will be utterly, like the scriptures say, beat to powder. Read.
But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness.
It says, but even though the Most High is showing all these things, the world will continue its immorality. The people will continue to think this is just one big party. And we're sitting here at the door of the last war before the coming of Christ. Read.
Verse 19. Behold, famine, plague. Salakia, verse 21. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth.
And now because there's a sale and you can still get things cheap. Read.
That they shall think themselves to be in good case.
Everyone's going to think that it's still normal. And we see it all the time. We see people trying to send letters and say that, well, hey, it's still football. We still able to do this, and we still, hey, ain't the end of the world yet. There's a sale. I can get a car cheap. I can get a loan to get a house that I can't even afford, but I'll still get it. Because you can get things for almost nothing. And you still can go to the dollar store. You can still get stuff cheap. You think that Christ is actually going to stop His coming because you can spend cheaply. That's the diversion. Satan is purposely leveling things off so that you can continue to operate and not prepare for the coming. But when the wars actually hit your respective areas, everything you're doing is going to stop altogether. It's going to be all at once. It's not going to be time to prepare. It's going to be one day where there is no stores. It's going to be one day where there is no place you can walk freely and shop. It's all going to stop with one thing. And then at that point is when the reflection comes in and you start to think about all the time you had and what you should have did with that time. The party ain't going to stop. Everything is going to stop at once. Read on.
And even then shall evils grow upon earth.
Evils shall grow upon earth.
Sword, famine, and great confusion. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy.
So you can have some people that are hungry. Like, man, but if I leave, I'm going to be destroyed out there. So only those that are operating in the Spirit and guided through the Spirit will live through it. Read.
For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy.
What verse you at?
I'm moving to verse 23.
Go ahead.
And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. There shall be no man left to till the earth, and to sow it. The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them?
Go down to be like pilgrims real quick down there.
Verse
69 and 70.
Verse 40.
Yeah.
O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to the battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth.
Read that part again, because this is what you have to do to be saved. Read it again.
O my people, hear my word.
Hear my what?
Hear my word.
Hear the Bible. That's your direction. That's your map. Read.
Make you ready to the battle.
Get ready for the battle. This ain't a physical battle, it's spiritual. Read.
And in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth.
And while those evils, those famines and everything that's mentioned, that's coming down on this earth, you be ready like pilgrims in this earth. That means you be prepared to deal with what's on your back and go wherever the Spirit leads you. Because anything you are attached to in one place will be your demise. Unless you're being led by the Spirit. Don't forget, Christ didn't have a place to lay his head. Every place he operated was where the Most High told him to go. He didn't have a house. He didn't have a place where he could call home. So he learned to make the earth his home and operate in the Spirit. So if you're operating attached to anything that you got cheap, that you bought, that you think is yours, that place will become your tomb. Now let's go here. Let's go back to Damascus. Let's go back to Syria. Let's go to Isaiah 17. First, let's get Isaiah 7 and 7. Let's read Isaiah 7 and 7 first.
Isaiah 7, verse 7.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord power, it shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If you will not believe, surely you shall not be established.
Well, I'm going here to show you that at one point Syria had an attachment with some of the 10 tribes that left Israel. Now listen to this clearly. Read Isaiah 7 and 7 again.
Isaiah 7 and 7. Thus saith the Lord power, it shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. For the head of Samaria is Damascus.
Is what?
Is Damascus.
Is Damascus. Read.
And the head of Damascus is Rezin.
Now when you look at Damascus, Damascus is in where? Syria. To show you there's an attachment to our people being in Damascus or Syria. And I'm putting this out there because there's no coincidence that the place they attacked last week by the orders of the Western world government by America was an area in which they said was Christians that still spoke the ancient language of Jesus Christ, of Christ. So they know it's our people that was still scattered in those lands of Damascus. And these are remnant. These are a remnant of people that are from the gospel and from the disciples' teachings. Their families are still in that area. So this is Satan's fight against our people in Syria. It have nothing to do with Assad. It have everything to do with taking down the stronghold of those people who are actually speaking the same language. Let me show you something here. Here's an article. I need you to read this for me real quick. The inhabitants are mostly.
The inhabitants are mostly Melkite.
Matter of fact, start here. Ma'ula.
Ma'alula.
Now, Ma'alula means high place. Now, this is a high place in Damascus. It's called high place. Now, think about this as we go through these prophecies. Read.
Ma'alula, tucked into the honey-colored cliffs of a mountain range north of Damascus.
North of Damascus.
And on a tentative list of applicants for UNESCO World Heritage status, is associated with the earliest days of Christianity.
It's associated with the earliest days of Christianity. So So this ain't the Christianity you see in America. This is a remnant of the original Christians. See? Read.
Saint
Thessia.
Thessia, who was supposedly buried in the convent, was a follower of Saint Paul.
Was a follower of who?
Of Saint Paul.
Of Saint Paul.
Who fled to the village of Syria.
Who fled to the village of Syria.
To avoid marriage.
To avoid marriage.
Having taken an oath of chastity. Or chastity. As it is said that the cleft of the rock in which the convent is placed opened up to allow her to escape her pursuers.
Now read down here.
The inhabitants are mostly Melkite Greek Catholic and Orthodox Christians.
Orthodox Christian, talking about the inhabitants down there, right? Go down to right here where it says it's one of only 3 places.
It is one of only 3 places in the world.
It is one of only 3 places in the world
where Western Aramaic, a dialect of the language spoken by Christ, is still used.
It's one of 3 places in the world where the dialect of Christ is still used. Now they try to throw you off by saying Aramaic when it's not Aramaic at all. Let's prove that. Let's go to Acts 26 and 12 to show you the language Christ was speaking there. I'm going to show you something on another level. Acts 26 and 12.
Acts 26 and 12.
Read.
Whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priests.
So Paul says he went to Damascus with authority from where?
From the chief priests.
This is Syria, brothers and sisters. Read.
At midday, O king, I saw in the way a light from heaven, about the brightness of the sun shining round about me.
Go ahead.
And with them they journeyed with, and them which journeyed with me. And when we were fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me, and saying in the Hebrew tongue.
In the what tongue?
In the Hebrew tongue.
In the Western Aramaic tongue?
In the Hebrew tongue.
In the Hebrew tongue what?
Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me?
So they have disguised it in the media. Every time you see Aramaic, they're trying to throw you off to make you believe that the Phoenician Hebrew is not being spoken. Christ spoke the ancient Hebrew. So every place you see Aramaic, replace with ancient Hebrew. So here's a town that's translated to high place that links directly to the original Christians, in which they're still praying to the Most High in the name of Christ in the ancient holy name. The first city they have actually attacked is Syria. So it all goes back to Jacob's trouble. They claim that it's about Assad. They claim that it's about chemical weapons. They claim that it's about this or that. But it's really to destroy the elect of the Most High in these respective areas. They're trying to continue what they started in 70 AD, eradicating God's people before the consummation. Because they know the same servants of the Most High, once set up under Christ, will become their terror. So they just preemptively call them terrorists. Let's go back to Isaiah 17.
Isaiah 17 and 1.
Read.
The burden of Damascus.
The burden of Damascus,
Behold,
which is Syria.
Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap.
It shall be a ruinous heap. So that's the future. It will fall. Read.
The cities of Aroer are forsaken. They shall fall for flock. They shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. The fortress shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria. They shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Lord of hosts.
They shall be the glory of the what?
They shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Lord of hosts.
Didn't we tell you, according to prophecy, that when they go into these lands, they're actually attacking the lost sheep, God's people? See that? But you'll never know this because geopolitically what they tell you in the news is for something else. Just like they did in 70 AD when they claimed that, when Nero claimed that the Israelite Christians or the Jew Christians burned 8 blocks or a few blocks in Rome, and through that lie destroyed our people. Now they're saying Assad did this, but they have Ishmaelites, mercenaries in the land with others killing our people. And soon, based on these votes within the United States, and guess what? You're not going to be looking at this because it's football season. All right? Perfect timing. They're going to be raining napalm down on children, women, people who just want to do the right things. People are trying to follow the Most High there. They're going to be killing them. See? But eventually, it's going to fall. Why? Because there were certain kings that were set up in that area who are in league with those who have made atonement against our people. So it must fall. But the Most High is going to save some of our people out of that, and they're going to go into the wilderness areas. We're going to show you. Read.
Verse 4. And in that day it shall come to pass, that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. And it shall be as when the harvest gathereth the corn.
You notice all these prophecies go back to what's going on with Jacob. See that? So you can't say Jacob is done away with when all the prophecies in the scriptures are concerning them and what will happen with them in the end times. Read on.
And it shall be as when the harvestman gathereth the corn and reapeth the ears with his arm. And it shall be as he that gathereth ears in the valley of Rephaim. Yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it, as the shaking of an olive tree.
As the shaking of an olive tree. Listen to this clearly.
2 or more berries in the top of the uppermost bow. 5 or 4.
2 or more berries in the upper bow. That's high. Read.
4 or 5 in the outmost fruitful branches thereof.
Go ahead.
Saith the Lord power of Israel. At that day shall a man look to his Maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel.
So the Most High is going to shake. And in that day, the elect is going to have respect to their Maker. That means the Most High is going to use this to draw his people back to him. Listen clearly.
And he shall not look to the altars, the work of his hands, neither shall respect that which his fingers have made.
That means his people will no longer be idolaters. And you notice in this same area, in these other areas, even though they speak the Most High's language, they got Catholic church set up over there. They got another Orthodox church set up over there. The Most High is going to destroy all the idols in Damascus. He's going to destroy all the idols. Well, eventually, his people will turn back to him. Listen clearly.
Either the groves or the images. In that day shall his strong cities be a forsaken bow, and an uppermost branch.
And a what?
And an uppermost branch.
And that's why it's called Malula. Malula means high place in that area. Read.
Which they left because of the children of Israel.
They left because of what?
Because of the children of Israel.
So there's a remnant left there. Read.
And there shall be desolation, because thou hast forgotten the power of thy salvation, or the God of thy salvation, and hast been not mindful of the rock of thy strength. Therefore shalt thou plant pleasant plants, and shalt set it with strange slips. In the day shalt thou make thy plant to grow, and in the morning shalt thou make thy seed to flourish. But the harvest shall be a heap, and the day of grief, and of desperate sorrow. Woe to the multitude of many people, which make a noise like the noise of the seas, and to the rushing of nations, that make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters.
So the nations shall come like many waters. Listen to this plainly. This is what's going on right now. Read.
But the Most High shall rebuke them.
He shall what?
But the Most High shall rebuke them.
So the Most High will allow these nations to do what they're doing, and He's going to save His people. But eventually, the Most High is going to turn the war against them. So all you nations like America and all that's going into those holy lands and fighting in those holy lands, you're going there for your own destruction. Because we know, based on what's going on here, the Most High will now send the Spirit to release the Medes. Iran. See? That's where we are in prophecy. So there's levels going on here. The Most High is allowing it to happen, to tear down the idols and draw the people in those areas back to Him. And at the same time drawing America into a war that they cannot win. The 10 horns will back up from them and allow the Iranians to do what they're going to do. And at that time, and when this happens, you don't have to worry about a false flag. Like I said before, everything that will be reported based on the war will be real. And everything they're preparing for in America, everything they're preparing for in their exercises will be for real events, not staged events. Read on.
The nations, verse 13, the nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but the Most High shall rebuke them.
But the Most High shall rebuke these nations.
And they shall flee far off.
And they shall flee far off.
And shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before the whirlwind. And behold, at eventide trouble, and before the morning He is not. This is the portion of them that spoil us.
And this is the portion for those that spoil us.
And the lot of them that rob us.
And the lot of those that robbed us, who took our identity, who took our riches, who took our holy land. It's coming back on you. You're being drawn into a war. You're being baited into a trap. And the Most High God will reveal Himself because He's going to be in the spirit. He's going to be operating with the King of the Medes against you. When you go into Acts 9, it also shows you the road of Damascus, which is Syria, where Paul received the information. Where he received his mission. But let's go to Amos 3, last scripture.
Amos chapter 3 verse 1.
Go ahead.
Hear this word that the Lord hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the family which I have brought up from the land of Egypt, saying,
Hear this word that I've spoken to you, O children of Israel.
You only have I known of all the families of the earth.
The whole family. He says, Israel, you only have I known of all the people of the earth. Like that means the Most High did not go to any other nation and put His name in. To put His name in. Only through the children of Israel. Read.
Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities.
That's why we will punish, brothers and sisters. Because He chose us to be a light to the world and show the world that it's better off following the true God of the Hebrews. And guess what? We began to follow the nations who are worshiping Satan. We began to follow the idolaters, the Satanists. Read.
Can two walk together except they be agreed?
Can you walk with another God?
Will a lion roar in the forest when he have no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have taken nothing? Can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth where no gin is for him? Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people be not afraid, or not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord have not done it? Surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets.
To show you that the Most High allow all these things to happen. But he doeth nothing unless he what?
Revealeth his secrets unto his servants the prophets.
So he give his servants, the prophets, the teachers, the understanding of prophecy to warn the world. So that you can see the news for what it really is, opposed to what's being publicized. Okay? He's shaking these nations because he's taken away the captivity of the nations. He's taken this off of us so that we can cleave to him now. So these wars are not all bad if you look at it from the proper perspective. Read.
Verse 8. The lion have roared.
The lion have roared.
Who will not fear?
Who will not fear?
The Lord power hath spoken. Who can but prophesy? Publish in the palaces at Ashdod, and in the palaces in the land of Egypt, and say.
Now we know that Ashdod was a capital city, a seaport capital city of Edom. And Egypt was the place in which we were enslaved and the Most High destroyed. And it was also after that a place of refuge for Christ and his people. You understand? He says, make a proclamation to them. Make a proclamation to Edom and to Egypt, and say what?
Assemble yourselves upon the mountains of Samaria. And
assemble yourselves on the what?
The mountains of Samaria.
On the mountains of Samaria. Read.
And behold the great torments in the midst thereof, and the oppressed in the midst thereof. For they know not to do right, saith the Lord.
Go ahead.
Who store up violence and robbery in their palaces. Therefore thus saith the Lord power. An adversary there shall be even round about the land, and he shall bring down thy strength from thee, and thy palaces shall be spoiled. Thus saith the Lord power, as the shepherd taketh out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs, or a piece of an ear, so shall the children of Israel be taken out, that dwell in Samaria in the corner of a bed, and in Damascus in a couch.
Go ahead.
Hear ye and testify in the house of Jacob, saith the Lord power, the God of hosts, that in the day that I shall visit the transgressions of Israel upon him, I will also visit the altars of Bethel, and the horns of the altar shall be cut off and fall to the ground.
Now Bethel was a place that we set up, that the northern kingdom set up, Ephraim set up, to Moloch and Ashtoreth, to show you that all these idols must fall. We were enslaved because we set up Bethel. Read on.
And I will smite the winter house with the summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall have an end, saith the Lord.
And the great houses shall have an end. So the eventuality of all this is the fall of all these churches, all these gods. That's what it's leading to, a visitation where all the gods fall, all their temples fall, and the Most High people are preserved and ready for the gathering. That's what this is leading to. So stay tuned, because it's not over. Keep looking at your news concerning Syria. Ignore Russia and watch Iran.